Benevolence, dear mortals. You can call me Whimsical William. Welcome to my channel. We are at the end of Romance Month. That's what I'm going to call it. It's been a really good month of reading, and I'm going to end the month off with a banger. This one is called Bride Story. It's Volume 1. This is from the maker of Emma. Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4. Absolutely beautiful. Really nice hardcovers. So from those covers, you could tell this manga has incredible art. I didn't want to admit it, but A Bride Story has better art than Emma. Like, she just continues to get better, and I'm blown away by it. I can show you the back of these mangas too. So this is the back of Volume 1. Look at that detail. Incredible. The back of Volume 2. What's really impressive is the detail that goes into the wardrobe, the clothing, the fabric. It's absolutely brilliant. And this is the back of Volume 4. Let's get into it. Bride Story is a seinen romance. In my opinion, I feel like seinen romances aren't very common. Like, you got shonen romance, you got shoujo romance, you even get a little bit of josei romance too. Seinen romance is just super interesting. Marriage is a heavy topic, especially for the Western audience. But what makes this manga incredible is the heavy topic of marriage with the historical setting. This manga is set during the time period of the Silk Road. So there's a lot of historical prevalence that takes place during these manga chapters. I thought essentially A Bride Story was going to be about a bride, one bride, her journey towards becoming the perfect bride or leaving a terrible relationship, just something. But as I was reading, I realized that there's a lot of detail happening with this main character, Amir, and a lot of her story, a lot of her development is happening really quickly. And there's like over 15 volumes of this manga. It's still ongoing. I only got to read 4 volumes so far. It's been an excellent experience. It's very hard to put this one down. And I'm reading it and I'm like, she's getting a lot of character development really fast. I'm only on the 2nd volume. And what I really like about this manga is it throws me off, but in a good way. We get a different bride. So now the next bride is a totally different story. Same setting, same place, relative to other characters. And then after that bride story, we get if you looked, we get 2 twins that, have their own bride story. So essentially in this manga, we just have many different brides going through their stories. Now, I don't know the conclusion, or I'm nowhere near caught up on the story, but that's what I gathered so far reading 4 volumes. Let's talk about the 1st volume through the 4th, and then I'll show you some art inside of it as well. So the first bride name is Amir. I'm not a big fan of this. I really don't like it at all, but there is an age gap. Amir is like 20, and then her groom is like 13 or 12. But it's a historical piece, and these things happened way back in the day. The Victorian era, before then, the Industrial Revolution, that era, all those eras in the bygone past, they had age gaps with relationships, and I hate that. This one is tastefully done, and I didn't cringe while reading it. It was very sweet. The historical information that the manga puts in the story makes me feel comfortable reading it, because I'm really not comfortable reading stuff like that. It'll make me just toss the book. Like, I really don't like it. But in this story, you realize that sometimes an older bride or older groom will get placed with a younger one because the clan is trying to assume more power, or they're trying to get into good graces with their enemies and trying to bring peace. There's a lot of different political reasons, selfish reasons as to why this takes place. And sometimes it's for the betterment of a family. Like, you have a bride that comes from a family that's really not doing good. And when you're not doing good in this era, you don't have a lot of sheep, you don't have land, or you're having trouble surviving off the land because the land was really brutal back then. It took a lot of skill and a lot of courage to survive. Sometimes like the right groom or the right bride can help another family or another clan or tribe survive. So these are some of the reasons as to why that happens. But the dynamic between Amir and her groom is so sweet. Amir comes from a family that they're not horrible people, but they're not good people. Becoming a bride kind of kept her safe and kind of helped her skills be used for something a little more realistic. Like, instead of fighting or, bloodshed, she's using her arrow skills. She's really good with the bow and arrow. She's using her skills to hunt to help this family out, because this family, doesn't really do things like that. They're more into homemaking and more artistic endeavors, but Amir is really good at that too. So Amir is just really good at hands-on things, but she doesn't have people skills. So she's learning that part while the family are learning from her. It's really sweet. So that's her story. The conclusion that I've gathered from her story from volume 2, I'm sure she's gonna come back because she's such an iconic character. Her family decides, hey, we married you off to this little twerp, this little kid, and you're safe and you're cool and you're probably being treated really well, but we need you back for leverage for this other clan. This other clan is going to try to run us out, try to take us over, or try to destroy us. But if we can give you up to one of theirs in marriage, it'll keep them at bay, it'll keep them happy. So they send out Amir's older brother to come pick her up, and Amir's like, no, I don't want to do that. And then her husband's like, no, it's her decision. If she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't have to do it. So they're going into the town, and people in the town are like, you're causing trouble. So they beat him up. They scare him out of town. They're throwing like clay bricks or whatever at him, or bricks of dirt. They're not trying to seriously hurt him, but they're trying to let him know, like, hey, we're not going to take disrespect. So they get him out of town. They try to come back, and they're unsuccessful. There is a British guy, I think he's British, some type of European. He's been hanging out with the family doing research, and everybody loves this guy. Everybody's cool with him. And he just writes down everything that happens, their customs, how they get married, how they create their own clothes, how they hunt, how important it is for certain families to connect with other families, how almost always a father's word is law. So it was really interesting. He's jotting everything down. And then the end of Amir's arc is at the end of volume 2, when the European guy gets a message. A guy comes up and he's like, yo, we got a message for you. You need to come meet this other person and start your journey. So he's like, all right, bet. So he's like, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and teaching me stuff, but I gotta roll. So they give him well wishes. They send him off. Amir knows the land really well, and her husband does too, so they assist him towards the meeting point. He gets there, and he's immediately robbed. Like, he loses his horse and all of his stuff. And he's like, what happened? I turned away for 1 minute. Meets a girl. The girl's like, I lost my stuff too. So they try to help each other find their stuff. And then she's like, well, you can come stay with me and my mother if you have nowhere to go and you don't know what to do right now. We can help you out. He's like, all right, bet, because I'm lost right now. I don't know what to do. My stuff is gone. So he hangs out there, grabs his notebook, and immediately starts jotting down notes, because he's like blown away by how they live their lives differently from the family that he just came from. It's just the two of them. And the mom is giving him a sob story. She's like, yeah, once I die, my daughter's not going to have anyone. She was married 5 times. And he's like, married 5 times? What was that pen out? That notebook. She's like, yeah, I'll tell you what happened. So she married this guy, and they were really good together, but he got sick and he died. So then he married the brother. It's basically 4 brothers or 5 brothers, and she married all of them. The 4th brother, they've grown even closer, and they really loved each other. And he died in an accident, I think falling off of a cliff or getting hit by a boulder on the cliff. Some crazy, tragic accident. She gets married to the 3rd. He doesn't live that long. And the 4th, same thing. He gets sick from the same thing that the 1st son got sick from. So she feels cursed, but she still doesn't want to give up on love and getting a husband. And the theme of this manga, I thought it would get under my skin because I'm not a big fan of gender roles. Like, it seems like a lot of these brides in this story, the end all be all is being a bride. Like, once they're a bride, like, they're set, their lives are good. I know it's a different time period, and having the status and just being with someone and also being able to become someone was very prevalent. I never found myself wishing that these characters would want more out of their lives. And it was really refreshing because usually when I get characters who are boy crazy or hung up over relationships or just one-dimensional like that, I get really tired of them and irritated by their presence on the panels. But these characters are so dynamic that I really enjoyed all of them. So the second bride to be, if you want to call her that, she I guess she was in the field hanging out with sheep, and she was letting her hair fly in the wind, and the European guy happened to see her. She's like panicked because I guess even in the Silk Road period, it was shameful, or it was indecent even, for a woman's hair to be seen by a man that's not her husband. So he was like, oh no, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to tell you something. Your mom was talking to me. And then she covered her hair up. She's like, oh, don't look at me, don't look at me. But secretly, she wanted him to look at her like that, but within the right circumstances, which was really sweet. He was telling her all the things that his mother told her, and she was like, oh, I'm really happy that she cares about me like that, but I'm worried about her. Like, if I were to leave with you or leave with anyone, who's gonna take care of her? And he was like, oh, you got a point. So they were talking, and she was like, my mother's probably gonna try to keep you here, and I don't mind you here. I like having a man here. I think it'd be easier for you to leave in secret than to try to leave with her, trying to persuade you to stay. So he's like, yeah, you're probably right about that. So he gets his stuff together and he decides to leave, and his horse is gone. Again, the horse that they got back, I don't know if I neglected to mention, but they got all their stuff back, and then he lost his horse again. So he's like, oh, this really sucks. So she offers her horse, and she's like, all right, you could, take my horse in town, it's fine. So he grabs her horse, goes into town, and there's a guy that's been looking at him, and he's like a relation to the family, I think an uncle or something. And he's like, nah, I'm gonna find a person you're gonna marry, and it's not gonna be that European. And she's like, well, I mean, I don't plan on marrying a European, but all right. And he's like, nah, I don't believe it. So he sets the European dude up and makes it seem like he stole her horse. So they lock him up and they're like, you're a spy. You're conspiring against us. Why do you have a notebook? Why are you writing down every little detail? And he's like, I'm a researcher. I have my papers. You don't care about your papers. And they lock him up and he's like freaking out. He grew a beard so quick, which is really funny. And then his friend and Amir from the previous family that he hung out with proves his innocence. And then the person that was supposed to be escorting him to the next town, or the next place rather, it's kind of far away, you gotta take the ocean to get there, or the sea, vouches for his innocence, and he's saved. And then homegirl comes back, she's like, yeah, he didn't steal my horse, I let him use it. And then the guy that set him up is nowhere to be found, which is awful. But that was basically the end of the second bride to be. The European guy's like, listen, I can't marry you out of pity, but I will return for you because I've taken a liking to you, but I'm a traveler, I'm a researcher, and I just can't make this obligation right now. And she's like, all right. And then he gives her like a really expensive gold pocket watch that could probably buy a bunch of cattle. And he's like, in my place, in my birthplace, we leave, things with the people that we care about to give more emphasis on our promise. But in their culture, giving a gift like that is like, the equivalent of saying like, yeah, I'm proposing to you. So they both kind of saw it in their own universal version. They parted off. Now we're getting into volume 4. Volume 4, I mean, let's look at it again. I see these goofy twins on the cover and I'm like, this is probably gonna be annoying. So they explain, the researcher, the European guy, he's like, yeah, so what made you, want to come and guide me to where I need to go? The money. I can't get married without money. I gotta give money to the bride in order to prove my worth. And he really wants to get married too. So I like the dynamic that not only do women want to become brides, but men want to become grooms just as well. It's a status thing, but also a little bit of honor, which is really, really interesting. This is a great story. Great stories, because like, even though it's Bride's story, multiple stories that are happening within these volumes and even these chapters. So he's basically saying, I'm trying to get money, and no one else wanted to take the job, and I was like, this is perfect. I don't mind risking my life for my goals. Let's do it. So he's like, oh, okay. So he's like, yeah, man, so I'll try to keep you safe. So he's like, all right, here's the plan. Where you need to go, there's 3 ways to get there. Really 4, but I'm only focused on 3. 1 is a short way back through my hometown. Really dangerous. Next way, we can go through the sea, and it's full of Russians. And apparently the Russians were really violent in that era, in that time. There's another way going all the way around, but it is a part of the sea, but it's the safest, but it's going to take the longest. And the 4th way is the second shortest, but it's mountainside. I can traverse these mountains just fine. I've been doing it all my life, but a lot of newer people fall to their deaths. The European guy was like, I'm not trying to fall to my death, so let's take the long way. They take the long way, and they don't even get too far before the European guy's like, I'm really tired. Falls asleep, and he falls into the water. And the guy's like, yo, that's my meal ticket. That's my money. Don't go dying. And then these 2 twins, they come out of nowhere. They grab him out of the water. They're like, oh, you saved my life. And you notice the guy wears glasses, so his glasses are in the water. And he's like, those glasses, you can't find those in the water. It's not possible. They immediately find it. Oh, we're trained. We find stuff in the water all the time. That's how we make a living. We try to look for valuable goods in the water. So he's like, all right, cool. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let's keep it moving. And he's like, no, we need to stick along because these twins, they saved my life. And they're like, yeah, well, you're a doctor, aren't you? And these twins are they're annoying, but they're really cool because they see right through people and they say exactly how they feel and they just don't care. So these twins immediately tell that the young man is poor and looking, for a wife and is trying to do whatever he can to get money. And he's like, how do you know that? That's not true. And they're like, yes, it is. And this European is a doctor. Now, the European wasn't a doctor, but he is a researcher. And they kind of, have the same energy, I guess. I don't know. But he's like, yeah, he's a doctor. So he plays along and he's like, I don't feel comfortable. I'm not a real doctor. And he starts saving people. Like, guys like, yeah, just my shoulder hurts so bad and I don't know why. And I just can't do the things I normally do. He pops his shoulder into place. Oh my God, I feel like a new man. This guy's a great doctor. And everybody's like lining up. And the other guy's like, yo, we need to move. We already taken the longest route. I don't want to stay here forever. And he's like, well, these girls did save my life, so let's just humor them a little bit more. So they stick around. And then it stops being about the European guy and his, companion, his helper. And it's more on the twins. And I was like, oh, these twins are going to be so annoying. But they're so fun. They're endearing. They're just, they're fun. They're funny. So like they want to marry another set of twins, and they finish each other's sentences, and they kind of have a lot of the same desires, but in different ways. Like they both want to be with rich people. They both want to live easy lives, and they both think they deserve the best princes out there. And I like that. They're delusional though. They're delulu. Like they don't have what it takes to get where they want to go at the moment. And everything that they do is like almost a get-rich scheme. So they're a little delusional, but it's kind of endearing. I like it. So they're trying to figure out how to get a rich person to marry them. Both of them too. And at first I'm like, they want one guy, but then I notice they want twins. Because they want to be together, as family, but they also want to be with someone. So I was like, well, that's cool. Neither one of them left behind. So we're devising schemes. So they're like, all right, I can knock this guy out on his donkey. Oh no, he was on a horse. Save his life, and then he'll be indebted to us. And then he'd have to marry us. So they throw a fish at this guy, knock him off the horse, and Their dad is so funny because the dad sees through every scheme that they do. I'm gonna tell your mother. And he's like hitting them. He's like not like abusing them, but like popping them upside the head. And it's just so funny. Like this was by far the funniest volume. All the other volumes are more serious, and like the comic relief that did happen was very short-lived and followed by something dramatic or something just kind of dark, because it is a seinen, so it definitely has seinen qualities. But this fourth volume felt more like a shonen, like not a battle shonen, but like more like a silly, fun time with a little bit of violence, a little bit. So none of their schemes work, and they're trying to find twins. Their next scheme that they learned from their grandmother, I guess their grandmother got married because she had a scheme of her own. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So she's like, all right, I'm going to have my head wrap, just loose. I'm going to bump into this dude and it's going to fall off. And then he'll have no choice but to marry me because he saw, my hair and all that good stuff. And it worked, and they got married. So they try that scheme. It doesn't work. And then like there's another set of twins that they don't like as much that called them out on what they're doing. And they're like, you guys always come and ruin our plans. Foreshadowing, I guess. So the dad, once again, is like, what are you doing? You're causing trouble. Go help your mom. He's like tired of them. So they go help their mom, and their mom is like, why are you causing so much trouble? She's even crazier. Like she looks like the twins, but a little bit older, which is amazing art, by the way. And like she's even more rambunctious. Your father's already hooking you up with husbands anyway. Well, why didn't he tell us? And they're just going back and forth. And they finally realized that the people that they were, the husbands that they were getting were the two boys that they grew up with that they don't like that much. So it was really fun to see their schemes and to see them backfire, but to see them kind of get what they want in a way, because the twins, they weren't ugly, and they weren't terrible people. And they found one of the twins that fits one of them the best, and it was really cute because they were both like, I feel so sorry for my twin sister, I got the better brother. They were both saying that in their heads, just twin things. So yeah, that was that volume, and it pretty much ends with like them about to get married to the other twins. I left out a few little parts here and there because I didn't want to make the video super long, but it's really good. Like there's a little bit of action, a little bit of fighting, but for the most part, it's like a slice of life, historical, romance all interweaved in it, and it's just really fun. But what's really gonna sell you over, besides all these colorful characters, their wonderful stories, is this god tier art. People gush over Berserk. People go crazy over One Punch Man. People say Junji Ito's horror art is spectacular. People like JoJo's art. There's like a lot of mangas out there people are like saying has the best art ever. A lot of that doesn't hold a candle to this. Since it's one of my favorite fun chapters, I'll go chapters and volumes. I'll show you 4 by Karu Mori. By the way, Karu Mori has art books as well, so you can see even more of her beautiful sketches and artwork. It's incredible. But take a look at this. Absolutely breathtaking, gorgeous, stunning work. The level of detail is painstaking. Just it's incredible. Just the attention to detail. I can't reiterate how wonderfully the lines and shadows are. It's just incredible. Everything is like high quality. The backgrounds, facial expressions, the hair, the animals and other things that are drawn besides the people. Most of all, their wardrobes, the quilts, the detail in the wood. It's historical, it's beautiful, and it's worth your time to check out. Thank you so much for checking out another video. If you haven't already and you feel like it, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. I think that for March, I'm just gonna go through my backlog. I got like a lot of manga that I'm on the fence about. I might sell, might get rid of. I want to make more space for anime figures. That anime figure tour is definitely coming soon. I got a lot of new stuff to share, a lot of things I want to talk about. With all that being said, once again, thank you so much for checking out another video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.